Ready for a wild ride through Earth's history? Buckle up because we're diving deep into your paleontology research.
Yeah, we're talking billions of years condensed into the most fascinating bits.
This isn't your average dinosaur documentary, trust me. We're talking seriously surprising twists and turns in the story of life. From its very beginning
Very beginnings, yeah.
to the rise of, well, us.
You us.
So first stop, the Archean Eon. Picture this. A planet pummeled by asteroids,
Oh, yeah.
volcanoes erupting everywhere you look, and an atmosphere so toxic you'd practically need a spacesuit just to breathe.
It's true.
Not exactly the welcoming cradle of life you might imagine, right?
You wouldn't think so. But even in this harsh, unforgiving environment, life found a way.
It did.
It did. It wasn't the kind of life we're used to seeing today, of course.
No lush forests or roaming dinosaurs. So what did these early life forms look like?
Think microscopic. We're talking single-celled microorganisms similar to bacteria. They were anaerobic, meaning they didn't need oxygen to survive.
Really?
In fact, oxygen would have been toxic to them.
Wow.
They existed in a narrow band of coastline, constantly bombarded by acidic, boiling water. Talk about extreme living.
It's mind-boggling that anything could survive under those conditions, let alone thrive.
Right.
Is there any tangible evidence of these early pioneers, or is it all just speculation at this point?
There is visible evidence. They form these massive structures called stromatolites, giant layered mounds built up over millennia by these ancient microbes.
Wow.
They look like something out of a science fiction movie right here on early Earth.
Stromatolites, I've seen pictures. They're truly otherworldly. But these ancient microbes had quite the reign, didn't they?
Yeah.
Millions of years with the planet to themselves.
They did, yeah.
Then everything changed. Your research points to a pretty dramatic shift in Earth's atmosphere.
A rise of oxygen.
Exactly. About 3.5 billion years ago, a new type of bacteria, cyanobacteria, evolved. They developed this incredible ability to use sunlight to produce energy,
Photosynthesis.
a process we call photosynthesis. And this is where things get really interesting. This is where things get interesting, right? Photosynthesis, as amazing as it is, comes with a bit of a catch.
It does, yeah. It does. Cyanobacteria produced oxygen as a byproduct.
Okay.
While this might seem like a good thing after all, we need oxygen to survive, it was disastrous for the anaerobic life forms that had ruled the Earth for billions of years.
Oh, no.
For them, oxygen was deadly.
So the very air we breathe spelled doom for the original inhabitants of Earth. Talk about a plot twist. What happened next?
This triggered what we call the Great Oxidation Event, essentially a global pollution crisis.
Wow.
As oxygen produced by cyanobacteria accumulated in the atmosphere, it reacted with methane, a potent greenhouse gas, causing Earth's temperature to plummet.
Oh, wow.
This led to a massive ice age, the Huronian glaciation, with glaciers stretching all the way to the equator. Imagine, Earth transformed from a boiling cauldron into a giant snowball.
From boiling to frozen.
Yeah.
Earth certainly has a flair for the dramatic. But even with these drastic environmental shifts, life found a way to persevere. Your research indicates that this marked a turning point, pushing life to become even more diverse and resilient.
Absolutely. And this is where our story takes us from the depths of the oceans to a new, uncharted territory.
The journey from water to land. That's a whole new chapter in the story of life, isn't it?
It is, it is. But before we dive into that, we need to talk about a pivotal period in Earth's history, something your research highlights, the Cambrian explosion.
The Cambrian explosion. It sounds almost as dramatic as the Great Oxidation Event. What exactly happened during this period?
Picture this. The ocean suddenly teeming with a dazzling array of life forms unlike anything Earth had witnessed before.
Really?
This period, roughly 540 million years ago, marks the beginning of what we call the Phanerozoic Eon, a time of abundant, complex life.
Wow.
We see the emergence of creatures with skeletons and hard shells, like the trilobites.
Trilobites. Those intricate fossilized creatures are a personal favorite.
They're a testament to the Cambrians' incredible biodiversity. But here's something even more remarkable. This period also marks the appearance of the earliest ancestors of vertebrates, animals with backbones, like us.
So while life was exploding in the oceans, what about land? Your research suggests it was a completely different world back then, right?
You're right. At that time, land was a barren, almost alien landscape. For water-dwelling creatures, it would have seemed like a desolate wasteland.
Talk about a change of scenery. What would possess these creatures to even consider leaving their watery home for such an unforgiving environment?
It seems counterintuitive, but a major driving force was actually predators.
Predators.
As competition for resources and survival intensified in the oceans, some creatures were pushed to explore new environments no matter how daunting.
So sometimes the riskiest move is to stay put. A classic case of adapt or die. Your research details how this journey wasn't a sudden leap, but a gradual process. It wasn't the trilobites leading the charge, but something much smaller.
Exactly. It all began with algae and fungi.
Algae and fungi.
Those unsung heroes of the land invasion.
Wow.
They were among the first pioneers, gradually colonizing the rocky surfaces and paving the way for more complex life forms.
Algae and fungi, the original trailblazers. Who knew?
They were essential. They helped create the first primitive soils, making it possible for plants to take root. Then came lichens, a fascinating partnership between fungi and algae, which could withstand even harsher conditions.
Okay.
They play a crucial role in breaking down rocks and further enriching the soil.
It's amazing how these early pioneers set the stage for the incredible diversity of plant and animal life we see on land today. But I imagine those early land dwellers had to overcome some serious challenges.
Absolutely.
Imagine having to adapt to constant threats of drying out, extreme temperatures, and finding new sources of food. It was a brutal process of natural selection.
Talk about a trial by fire. Your research highlights a particularly fascinating character from this period, Tiktaalik.
Ah, yes. Tiktaalik, a true celebrity in the world of paleontology.
Right. This creature, which lived around 375 million years ago, gives us incredible insight into the evolutionary journey from water to land.
What makes Tiktaalik so special?
It's considered a transitional fossil, a creature with features of both fish and amphibians. Like a fish, it had gills and scales, but it also possessed something revolutionary: a neck.
A neck. That doesn't sound particularly groundbreaking.
Think about it. Fish don't have necks. They can't turn their heads independently of their bodies. Tiktaalik, with its flexible neck, could lift its head and look around even while its body was still submerged.
Right.
This was a game changer for spotting prey and predators.
Well, you're right. A neck is suddenly much more impressive. What else helped Tiktaalik navigate this new terrestrial world?
It had sturdy, bony fins that could support its weight, allowing it to prop itself up in shallow water or even venture onto land for short periods.
Okay.
These fins were like primitive arms and legs, paving the way for the limbs of all future land vertebrates.
So Tiktaalik wasn't just a fish, and it wasn't quite an amphibian either. It was caught in between. A remarkable example of evolution in action.
Precisely. And as these intrepid explorers ventured further onto land, the landscape itself was undergoing a dramatic transformation. Your research paints a vivid picture of the Carboniferous period, a time when plants truly took over, setting the stage for even bigger and stranger creatures.
We're talking giant insects, right? Dragonflies with wingspans like a hawk's. That's straight out of a science fiction novel.
It's true. Remember that oxygen-rich atmosphere we talked about?
I do, yeah.
Turns out it wasn't just good for early life, it supersized them too. Insects breathe through tiny tubes in their exoskeletons, and higher oxygen levels allowed them to grow to sizes that would be impossible today. Imagine encountering a millipede stretching over 6 feet long.
That's both fascinating and slightly terrifying. But while these giant creepy crawlies were ruling the land, what was happening with those vertebrates? Were they still finding their land legs, so to speak?
They were making significant progress. The Carboniferous period saw the rise of amphibians, think frogs, toads, and salamanders. These descendants of those early tetrapods, like Tiktaalik, were becoming increasingly well adapted to life on land.
So are these the first vertebrates to truly break away from their aquatic origins?
Not quite. Amphibians still relied on water for reproduction, laying their eggs in ponds and streams.
Yeah.
But they were evolving in exciting new directions. They developed lungs for breathing air, and their limbs evolved to better support their weight and allow them to move more efficiently on land.
It's amazing to think how far vertebrates had come, from those tiny jawless fish in the ancient oceans to these complex creatures navigating a whole new world on land.
It's a testament to evolution's endless creativity.
It is.
But as your research indicates, the story of life on Earth is full of unexpected twists and turns.
That's true.
And speaking of twists and turns, this is where the dinosaurs enter the scene.
The dinosaurs. Their reign lasted for millions of years. But I'm guessing their world wasn't all sunshine and massive carnivores, as popular culture might have us believe.
You're right. The Mesozoic era, often called the Age of Dinosaurs, spanned from about 252 to 66 million years ago.
Okay.
While it's true that dinosaurs were the dominant land animals during this time, their world was far more diverse and dynamic than we often imagine.
So what's the biggest misconception about the age of dinosaurs?
Many picture the Mesozoic as one long hot summer with lush jungles covering the planet. The reality, as your research reveals, was much more complex.
Really?
The climate fluctuated dramatically from periods of intense heat to ice ages. Dinosaurs had to adapt to a wide range of environments.
So not all dinosaurs were sunbathing on tropical beaches.
Not at all. Take Nanosaurus, for example.
Nanosaurus, that doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
It means polar bear lizard, and it's a perfect example of dinosaur adaptation. Nanosaurus was a tyrannosaur that lived in the Arctic Circle during the late Cretaceous period.
Wait, a tyrannosaur in the Arctic? You're telling me those fearsome predators weren't confined to tropical climates?
Precisely. Nanosaurus was built for the cold, with a thick coat of feathers for insulation and a keen sense of smell to hunt in the low light of the Arctic winter. It challenges our typical image of a scaly, sun-loving dinosaur.
That certainly changes things. So while dinosaurs were busy adapting to all sorts of challenging environments, what about mammals? Were they just waiting in the wings for their chance to take center stage?
In a way, yes. Mammals were already evolving and diversifying during the Mesozoic, even as dinosaurs held dominion over the land.
What did those early mammals look like? Were they competing with the dinosaurs for resources?
They were generally small, shrew-like creatures, often nocturnal to avoid direct competition with dinosaurs. But they had a few key advantages up their sleeves.
Like what? What made them so special?
They were warm-blooded, giving them an advantage in colder climates.
Okay.
And they had developed a unique adaptation.
Lactation,
Interesting. This adaptation, lactation, proved crucial for mammal survival.
How so?
While dinosaurs struggled to find food after the asteroid impact, mammals had a ready-made source of nourishment for their young.
Right.
Exactly. This allowed mammals to invest more energy in fewer offspring, increasing their chances of survival in a changing world. It was a game changer.
So these tiny mammals, with their warm blood and milk-producing abilities, were poised to take over the world, even while the dinosaurs were still calling the shots.
They were incredibly adaptable and resilient, possessing traits that would ultimately lead to their success. But their time in the spotlight wouldn't come until a cataclysmic event changed everything.
The asteroid impact, the event that wiped out the dinosaurs and ushered in a new era.
That's right. The extinction event that marked the end of the Cretaceous period, about 66 million years ago, was a global catastrophe, wiping out an estimated 76% of all plant and animal species on Earth.
76%.
It was devastating.
Wow. And yet, life found a way. Those resourceful mammals, with their ability to adapt and their unique traits, were able to weather the storm and inherit a changed world.
That's right. The extinction of the dinosaurs created a power vacuum in the natural world. With their main competition gone, mammals were free to diversify and fill the ecological niches that were now vacant. This brings us to the Cenozoic era, a time of incredible change and diversification for mammals.
The Cenozoic era,
Yeah.
the age of mammals. I imagine this period as a time of incredible growth and expansion for mammals. What kind of amazing creatures emerged during this new age?
Get ready for some serious mammal madness. We're talking giants like Indricotherium, a rhinoceros-like creature that could reach heights of over 16 feet taller than a giraffe.
Indricotherium, it sounds like something out of a fantasy novel. What other incredible creatures emerged during this period?
Indricotherium was indeed a giant among mammals, and then there were the giant sloths, like Megatherium.
Giant sloths!
They dwarfed their modern relatives, growing to the size of elephants.
It's hard to imagine those slow-moving, tree-hugging creatures as colossal giants.
They were unlike any sloth alive today. Megatherium could even walk on two legs and may have used their enormous claws to dig burrows. And we can't forget about the bear dogs like Amphision, which roamed the forests of North America and Eurasia.
Bear dogs. A terrifying combination. Your research paints them as formidable predators.
They were indeed. Amphision possessed powerful jaws and sharp teeth, making them apex predators of their time. But the Cenozoic wasn't just about giants. It was also a time when smaller, more familiar creatures, including the earliest primates, were evolving and diversifying.
Our own distant relatives taking their place on the world stage. Your research mentions this period as setting the stage for the rise of hominoids and, eventually, our own species.
Precisely. It's a remarkable journey, from those tiny, shrew-like creatures hiding from dinosaurs to the incredible diversity of mammals we see today, including us. Throughout billions of years, despite countless challenges, life has found a way to adapt and flourish.
It speaks to the incredible power of evolution, constantly shaping and reshaping life on Earth. But as your research points out, it hasn't always been a smooth upward trajectory. There have been some catastrophic setbacks along the way. We're talking about mass extinction events.
Yes, mass extinction events. These were periods in Earth's history when a significant portion of life on the planet vanished, often abruptly.
So not just a few species here and there, but massive die-offs that change the course of evolution. Your research delves into several of these events, starting with the Ordovician-Silurian extinction.
That's right. Around 443 million years ago, the Ordovician-Silurian extinction wiped out an estimated 85% of marine species. The exact cause is still debated, but scientists believe a combination of factors, including climate change and a drop in sea levels, contributed to this massive extinction event.
85% of marine species.
Yeah.
It's almost unimaginable. What about the other mass extinctions you uncovered in your research?
Each extinction event had its own set of causes and consequences, reshaping the trajectory of life on Earth. There was the late Devonian extinction about 375 million years ago, which seemed to hit coral reefs particularly hard. Then there was the Permian Triassic extinction, about 252 million years ago. It's considered the most severe extinction event in Earth's history.
The Permian Triassic extinction.
Yes.
That's the one they call the Great Dying, right? What could have caused such a catastrophic event?
The Permian Triassic extinction wiped out a staggering 96% of marine species and 70% of terrestrial vertebrate species. It was a true planetary crisis. Scientists are still piecing together the exact causes, but evidence suggests volcanic activity, a runaway greenhouse effect, and ocean acidification all played a part.
It boggles the mind to think about the scale of such an event. But even after such devastation, life eventually recovered and flourished once again. Your research indicates that there were other extinction events as well.
Yes, after the Permian Triassic extinction came the Triassic-Jurassic extinction about 201 million years ago. This event paved the way for dinosaurs to rise to dominance. And then, of course, there was the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction about 66 million years ago, the one that wiped out the dinosaurs and opened the door for the age of mammals. 5 major extinction events. 5 times that life on Earth was pushed to the brink.
5 catastrophic events that dramatically reshaped the planet and the life it supports. It's a sobering thought, particularly in light of something else you mentioned in our pre-show notes. Some scientists believe we're currently in the midst of a 6th mass extinction event.
Yes, and unlike previous extinction events triggered by natural disasters, this time the cause is us.
Humans.
Human activities, deforestation, habitat destruction, pollution, climate change, are causing species to disappear at a rate far exceeding the natural background rate.
It's unsettling to think that we might be the catalyst for such a profound shift in Earth's history.
Some scientists estimate it's 100 to 1,000 times higher. It's a sobering reality, but understanding the history of life on Earth, including periods of both incredible growth and devastating loss, can help us make more informed decisions about our relationship with the planet and the other species we share it with.
You're right. Knowledge is power, as they say. And this journey through billions of years of life on Earth has certainly been illuminating. From those single-celled pioneers in the primordial soup to the incredible diversity of life today. From giant insects to massive dinosaurs to those unbelievable bear dogs and giant sloths. It's a story full of unexpected twists and turns.
And the story isn't over yet.
That's true.
Life on Earth is constantly changing, adapting, and evolving. Who knows what incredible adaptations might arise in the future?
It's both a humbling and exhilarating thought. If there's one thing we've learned from this deep dive, it's that life finds a way. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey. Until next time, keep exploring.